Jai 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 Gurudev. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagwan ki. Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadra Mai ki. Jai Shri Shri Gauranathai ki. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Gurudev ki. Jai. Thank you all for coming for today's Bhagavatam class. So today we'll be discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 17, verses 12 and 13. Since 12 doesn't have any translation or no purport, we will be going through 12, chanting 12, and then going through the purport of 13 in today's class. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhagavatir Bhavati Naishtaki. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nesamya Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurur Shreshta Nimitam Sonyavapadyatha. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamya Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam Sovapadyata. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamya Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam Shovapadyata. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamya Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam So Anvapadyatha. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamya Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam Sovapadyata. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamyam Paridevitam Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam So Anvapadyata. Maitreya Uvacha Prithu Prajanam Karunam Nishamya Paridevitam Kurushreshta Dirgam Dadyo Kurushreshta Nimitam Sho Anyavapadyata. Synonyms. Maitreya Uvacha. The great saint Maitreya said, Prithu, King Prithu, Prajanam of the citizens, Karunam, pitiable, pitiable conditions, Nisamya, hearing, Paridevitam, lamentation, Dirgam, for a long time, Dadva, contemplated, Kurushreshta, O Vidura, Nimitam, the cause, Sah, he, Anvapadyata, found out. Translation. After hearing this lamentation and hearing the pitiable conditions and seeing the pitiable conditions, King Prithu contemplated this matter for a long time to see if he could find out the underlying causes. I'll read out the verse 13. Iti vyavasito buddhayo pragrihita sarasanaha sandade vishikham bhutme krudastri purahoyata. Synonyms. Iti, thus, vyavastitaha, having arrived at the conclusion, buddhaya, by intelligence, praghita, having taken up, sarusana, the bow, sandade, fixed, vishikam, an arrow, bhume, at the earth, kruda, angry, tripuraho, Lord Shiva, yata, like. Translation. Having arrived at the conclusion, the king took up his bow and arrow and aimed at the earth, exactly like Lord Shiva, who destroys the whole world out of anger. Purport. King Prithu found out the cause for the scarcity of the food grains. He could understand that it was not people's fault, for they were not lazy in executing their duties. Rather, the earth was not producing sufficient food grains. This indicates that the earth can produce sufficiently if everything is properly arranged. But sometimes the earth can refuse to produce grains for various reasons. Their theory that there is a scarcity of food grains due to an increase of population is not very sound theory. There are other causes that enable the earth to produce profusely or to stop producing. King Prithu found out the proper causes and took necessary steps immediately. Om Jnanathimrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Apta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today's topic will be focusing on why Mother Earth is withholding the grains. So in previous verses also you would have seen the reasons why Mother Earth is withholding the grains, and we know who King Prithu is. So in this particular verse, we see that Mother Earth is withholding rains. What could be the reasons, right? The first reason that we could see is the killing of the animals that's happening very commonly across all over the world. We find that even in Bible, where in places it's generally mentioned that people are eating, the places got translated to meat. The particular, it would have in particular language or a Hebrew language, if it was written as any kind of food, but in English, people had translated it saying meat. If we see in old dictionary for the word mete or meat, it is actually called, it need not be any, it's not like they don't call it as a flesh of any animal, but it's just called any food. It could be bread or breakfast or dinner or any meal. They would simply call it mete. But the translators who did the English version replaced all of those foods with the word meat in it. So then people unfortunately assumed that it's eating of animal flesh, right? And so people started eating flesh, and this causes depleting of resources. One of it is water, right? How much of gallons of water is required to cleanse meat, right? So instead, if one is eating grains, then we can save all that water, right? So basically, these are one of the examples what has happened because of few people who are having the desire to eat meat actually start to translate the holy scriptures. But what we can also see is when Srila Prabhupada had translated Bhagavad Gita, there were few words, and when devotees went to speak to some advanced Sanskrit scholars, they came to know, they wanted to know what's the exact meaning. Is this word equivalent correctly written? Then the Sanskrit scholars had verified, yes, it's definitely very esoteric word, but it's very relevant. So we don't know how Srila Prabhupada came up with those words, but it's definitely perfect. So in this way we can see even those scripture or even those translations or those articles which Srila Prabhupada had written in Back to Godhead magazines in 1950s, let's say, applies even today. Prabhupada would have mentioned about writing about the disasters or the food prices going up or the floods, but it applies even today, right? We see day in and day out that there is rise or crops resources getting reduced, and in effect we get the prices are going up. So in a lot of ways we can see that earth is not producing enough for various reasons, and it could be also because that the resource like oil is getting extracted for transportation purposes like petrol, or even those electric cars, which is assumed to be very a good alternate for petrol, is now we identify that those are that important minerals that has got extracted from the earth, and those are getting depleted, which are very important now for growing of grains. So basically we have to treat Mother Earth the way she has to be treated, otherwise she is also getting upset and she is also withholding the grains. So nowadays we see, even though these kind of things happen even before and it's also happening now it's very intense. Why it's very intense? Because of the advancement in communication, because of the advancement in technology, we see that the news gets spread so quickly. Let's say if there was an earthquake in San Francisco, even a little tremor or little earthquake, the news gets spread all over the world. And what do people think? They fear, right? They fear that what might happen to my, if I also have earthquake, number one, what will happen? Okay, next thing is what will happen to my shares, what will happen to my investments. So it's like non-stop hearing of those bad news, and then we constantly worry. So this is what is happening. And even like because of the television or because of internet, any remote place in Tibet or Indonesia, any small village, these news reaches, and everybody is aware of what bad things are happening in the world. So this is what the advancement of human society does, or advancement in technology does to people. And also Mother Earth in turn gets affected by it. So in Japan, we see like a lot of people are moving towards improving IT or technology. Uh, Not only Japan, even Thailand or Vietnam, where originally so much crops used to be grown, now 60% of the food is actually imported. And what do they say? They think that they can make it up with IT, with the growth of IT or technology. But in fact, if they don't grow their food grains, it's not sustainable. The prices are always going up, especially after COVID. There are a lot of resource crunch, and a lot of things are getting, like grains are getting depleted, and in turn, the food prices are going up. So, where are we drawing the line here? So, what do we do? So, because of these problems, people reach out to King Prithu and they ask, King, we know you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do something about it. So King Prithu also responds, and he pacifies Mother Earth for the people's sake, and he says, why are you withholding grains? Even people might be sinful, but you should be giving them, you should make them be well fed. So these are the things that we can see. If there was a good king, that he will make arrangements for the citizens to be happy. We also see even now people go to the presidents or the in charge or the king or anybody. If they are in hunger or if they have any problems, they reach out, they shout out their problems. And the government, even even the modern government or the new government would actually help the people to some extent. They will provide grains, they will actually give food for people to mitigate some of their problems. But on the other side, what happens? There is also more sinful activities happening. People have opened more casinos. People have started enjoying their senses more. There's more sense gratification happening. So we can also see, right, like on casinos, or some ads will be written. It will say, come here, miracles will happen. It's not any church or temple to go there and see miracles happen. But people do believe, they go to the casinos, they spend a lot. The reason why they say that miracles happen is there are only many losers of people who go there. Only very few win. And even if people who have won are actually losers. Because at some point they would have invested so much, and they'll reap some benefits. It is not that they are completely successful. Krishna takes away everything. And even if Krishna gives, yes, Krishna do give to people who are also sinful. So from that we can understand Krishna is very non-biased. He takes care of everyone. So we should make sure that that we serve Krishna in the way he likes and make him happy. And we see in India also, like when Britishers had come, they saw that there were a lot of cows, and they found that cow was very resourceful. In the sense, cow was giving milk, cow was giving ghee, the cow's dung was used as fertilizer, whatnot, right? So one of those personnel from the Britishers said, if we have to conquer India, we have to kill those cows. So they built a lot of slaughterhouses, the cows were slaughtered, we didn't have enough milk. It seems at one point in Bengal, the cows outnumbered the number of people who were living. But once the Britishers had left, the cows' numbers came down, the fertilizers went down, people stopped doing any yagyas, people started comparing ourselves to America, and they said, when America is killing so many cows and they are wealthy, why don't we also kill cows? So they also started killing cows. And now we can see the results. Now we have to go to England to get some chemical fertilizers instead of natural fertilizers. And how are we affecting the earth is what we have to think about. So king is showing his anger on Mother Earth, and he's saying, I don't need you because you're not giving food for my people, so I don't need you. And then she begs for mercy, and then they make a deal that even if the people are sinful, King Prithu asks Mother Earth to provide food. So sometimes, so we've seen about how pious people also get bewildered about, somebody being rich even by doing sinful activities. So King Prithu also mentions, yes, this is going to happen, but you still provide food for my citizens. And not only casinos and not only these chemical fertilizers, not only that sinful activities are being performed, not only that animal killings are happening, we also see how humans have become so selfish, and they want to enjoy their senses more, and hence we see like MasterCards coming up. Just by having a job, one would have a MasterCard. They would take this MasterCard, they would buy whatever they want, even more than what they actually need. So it's basically like, if I only have $10, people used to spend $5 or $8, but because MasterCard gives you this facility to spend $100, people buy for $150, and in turn, what do they have to do? They have to slog like dogs and, horses. Instead of working one job, people work two jobs. And where is their energy going? In just satisfying their needs, which is not actually required for them. If they are spending 150, then they have to meet their needs, right? Where people were spending $8 or $10, now they have started spending 150, so they have to meet up. So their focus is not coming anyway towards Krishna or religion or spirituality, but in turn it's only giving them their day-to-day needs, or they're only working like dogs or horses. In Japan, they've found out that people are working 12 hours every day, and at every week they work in a week they work for all 5 days in the daytime, and sometimes in the following week they will work in the night time. So it alternates. So again, people's health is getting challenged, and people just continue to go behind money and not take care of their health. Most of the places here also, it is found like most of them are behind 4 days of work, and the fifth or 5 days of work, and then the 6th and the 7th day they just want to enjoy. They want to enjoy their senses. So this is the situation we are in. So this is the issue. So how do we solve it? It is said that the real yajna of this Kali Yuga is Sankirtan Yajna or Harinam. So, and hence we are encouraged to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra every day. And when we take out the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to the streets, then not only us, everybody gets benefited. It's not only people who are chanting the name, but also people who see them, any insects or birds or animals who hear the holy name gets benefited. And hence it is said that we first benefit ourselves, and then we benefit others as well. So in essence, what happens when we chant the holy name? Then we get rain. In Bhagavad Gita, there's verse in 3rd chapter, 14th verse, it says, Anna bhavanti bhutani parijanya dana sambhavaha yajna bhavati parjanyo yajna karma sambudh bhavaha. All living bodies subsist on food grains. which are produced from rains. Rains are produced by the performance of yajna, which is sacrifice. And yajna is born of prescribed duties. And here we see King Prithu says, yeah, people are not lazy, they are ready to do whatever is assigned to them, but it's just this, wrong doings that some people commit that is affecting the earth, and hence earth is withholding these grains. Lord Chaitanya showed how to perform this yajna, and people with good brains had actually adopted to it. And that is the Harinam Yajna. There's nothing better than dancing and singing and giving this holy name to others, right? So Lord Chaitanya is happy to take people who chant the holy name to Goloka and join us in in his Kirtan party, right? So it is up to us how much we want to go forward and take it up. So yes, of course, householders have their own tasks, a lot of tasks to do. They have to take care of their kids, they have mortgages to pay. Of course, not everybody are able to go out. So at least we have to make an endeavor, number one, or at least support people who are going on Harinam. In any form, we also get the same kind of benefit as one does by going out on the streets. Yes, by going out on the streets, sometimes we feel good, but sometimes we don't feel that good. It is like, we can compare that to Yamaraj, who's a demigod who day in and day out listens to the sinful activities that people have done. He also gets pious people and he sends them to heaven. So the experience when we go out on Harinam might not be as good, because we are meeting sinful people on the streets. It will affect us. It's just like how Yamaraj is performing his duties because it is his given responsibilities. He just does it out of his regular activities. So similarly, we also have to perform out of our duty, out of that we have to go, okay, let's make an effort, let's do it once, let's do it twice. We have to try to push ourselves sometimes. And the more we go towards Krishna, Krishna will actually come towards us. We have seen that. The more when we go out on Harinam, when we give the holy name, we also get a taste for holy name. The more we give out prashadam when we go out, or whoever we meet when we give out some prashadam, we also get the necessary boga that is required for providing others. The more we actually start giving out books, the necessary Lakshmi for getting more books is also coming back, right? So Krishna will give us everything. It's just that we have to make that endeavor to go forward and put in our efforts. We also see, okay, by going to Harinam, by doing these yajnas, what are we attracting? We want rain. And how does that rain come? It's given, the sanction has to come from Lord Indra. So sometimes what happens to Lord Indra is he gets affected, he gets insecure, he feels like, okay, what will happen to my position if if everybody is chanting Krishna's name, if I'm not being glorified, what will happen? So what does he do? In Vrindavan, he goes and attacks Vrajavasis. And in turn, what does Krishna do? Krishna said, no, you don't have to. So people actually, because Indra is attacking Vrajavasis, Vrajavasis at one point of time started glorifying Indra. They started offering all their food and grains to Indra. But Krishna rightly went and stopped them and then asked them to offer it instead to Govardhan Hill. So when people started offering to Govardhan Hill, again Indra got agitated and he was angry, and we know what happened. So in so many situations, Indra gets upset because one starts to glorify Krishna, and then he gets insecure about his position, and hence we see that he's sometimes sending apsaras or some girls to actually attract or disturb the meditations of Naranarayan Muni, let's say, Rishi, let's say. So like this, he wants to disturb and he wants to cause more problems, and then finally he understands where he is going wrong and he corrects himself. And Krishna corrects him actually. So there will be disturbances for people who are trying to do this tapasya or do this yagya, and whoever overcomes that gets the blessings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Krishna. So it is encouraged that when we get rain, we actually grow more crops, grow more vegetation, and whatever we can, because this is Kali Yuga. Initially what happened, people used to feel, oh, you farmers, you're not doing a good job, you're very lazy, you get lowly paid, why don't you do some degree, go to the cities, get a good job, earn money, live a comfortable life. So we started actually giving those trademarks to those farmers who were actually growing crops. But now when they come to the city, they take the comforts, do an IT job or do an engineering job or a doctor or a lawyer job. Who is there to grow crops? So then we find that a lot of food grains are actually reduced and the food prices are going up. So in turn what people do, people go back to the forest to live a very natural life, or go back to the farms to be in close with nature. What do they get? They get some wild berries from the forest, or maybe they start eating flesh of animals. So this is what is happening in Kali Yuga, and this is all predicted, that people will who are in the cities will go back. So what do we do to balance this situation? Who come to the cities also should try to grow their own crops. Say for example, if you have, some people have 1 acre of place where they stay, so they can, Jananda Maharaj who came was actually encouraging Madhavi Mataji to actually grow her own crops, because she was already doing that because of his encouragement. Whenever Jananda Maharaj comes, he makes a point to visit Chestnut farm, and he actually encourages us to have organic fruits or vegetables, the ones which are grown locally. It might not have a good shape like the ones we get in Ullis or Coles, right? But it will be healthy. We will not have any toxins that will reside in our body. So we have in Sydney also, like few devotees like Madhavi Mataji, Ujjwala Rasa Mataji, and a few other devotees like the Pujari, I think Nanda Maharaj's Prabhu, also have their own garden where they cultivate their own crops or their own vegetables or some fruits. They come and share, you can see them. They'll have some lemons or some veggies. And this time when Jananda Maharaj ate in Madhavi Mataji's place, he made a comment that this is real prasadam. Mataji had made around 8 to 9 varieties of vegetables just from her own garden. And it did taste so good that we didn't have to add any spices to it. And speaking about growing crops, when my Guru Maharaj had went to Mayapur, he had actually started to clear the place which was more like a dry, unusable land. He made it into fertile, cultivable land, and he put crops. But sometimes what happens when you grow your own food, you will have only 1 or 2 vegetables, and you will have to eat the same vegetables again and again. So it gets so boring. So people started complaining, oh, daily you're giving me lauki, daily you're giving me bindi. So sometimes when they had pumpkin, they were very happy. So it does make people happy as well. Right, and they grow their own food, so their energy is invested. So when they get a fruit, then new things about gardening. Then you know that, okay, when there's a male flower in a pumpkin plant and there's a female flower, and then you have to sometimes hand pollinate. It won't get automatically populated if insects are not there, if bees are not there. So then you learn new techniques. And then you learn about some interesting things we come to learn, right? So it's not just one way of thinking. So we have to think in multiple ways, just so to have the sustainable sort of living, and just so to give Krishna the pleasure of eating nice food, and also in turn we get benefited by eating good food. Then we don't have to face problems of cancer, which is very common these days. So yeah, it's emphasized that we perform the Harinam Yagya more often, and also the Sankirtan Yagya, and we give the holy name to each and every individual. So transformation of heart happens. and we also try to grow our own food with whatever land we have. So that's it for today. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? All good?